Hey y'all, the Daily Smoke presents the WRDMTCN, and today we are having a great conversation with an incredible friend of mine. We can call this Taboo Topics with Vonetta Berry, aka you'll find out. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Bangin' 832 Radio. You can watch past episodes on the Daily Smoke Sundays at 7. Tamia's Touch of Care Massage Therapy. If you want to get with life, get a massage. Thank you so much, Tamia. She's been my massage therapist since last October. And I know that the guys, everybody knows how great it is to be touched by somebody who prays over their provision. So y'all make sure y'all call Tamia and get you a massage as well. And then don't forget to mark your calendars for September 10th, 2022, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Check out the South Park Coalition 35th Anniversary Concert. It's going to be at the Scout Bar, 18307 Egret Bay Boulevard in Houston, 77058. And tickets are available on Eventbrite, pre-sale 25, VIP it's 50, or if you wait for the door, it's 30 for regular admission. Make sure to go to thedailysmoke.com to watch more videos, to stay subscribed to our YouTube channel, and to make donations, hit that Cash App, $ TD Smoke. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
So I'm so excited to have you on this show because I know yesterday we were having a conversation, right? And just the build up of getting to that space. Can you walk us through, just so our viewers can catch up, of what your intention was, as in the conversation to have and the presentation you're wanting to do?
Um, I have this idea that I want to normalize talking about sex and sex things in the Black community. And as a Black woman, I feel like it's important to have those conversations. So I reached out to Tiffany because who else could I get to fit? So I think that would be a good idea. And then we started brainstorming and came up with another friend who is a sex educator. And so it came into this being of creating a space, creating a performance, a presentation, a class, whatever you want to call it, but a space with 3 women on stage, all Black, all talking about sex and sexual issues from 3 different perspectives. So one from a sex positive place in education, one from a poetry place, and one from a storyteller place. All of us speaking, some simultaneously, some not, but an orchestrated performance. And so I pitched it via text, and I actually thought she was going to be like, girl, I don't have time for that, I'm doing all this stuff. But she was like, yay! It was like vertical words.
Oh, the fact that you want to create with me is what I said. I'm in. It's Vonetta Berry of ABC Body Art, y'all. I mean, like, what'd you do during the pandemic, honey?
So on the same line about talking about sex and not making it be taboo, especially for Black women, and having agency in a sexual experience. I wrote a book during the pandemic. It's called Kinky Tales, and it's under the pen name of Goddess Inkwell, and you can tell by the cover it's already something that is a lot different than most people think. This is not a safe for work book, people. This is not a safe for work book. But the idea here is that I was looking for artwork that featured Black people during the pandemic, because everybody was on Pornhub, and Pornhub is okay. You can get some big booty, stuff and all that. Problem for me is I'm pansexual, but I like brown bodies. I like brown bodies. And I'm also an anime nerd. So I can't really find good hentai. That's my thing. I couldn't really get with a lot of the ways that there's some toxic things in some people's porn. So I wanted to find a place that felt safer for me. And I kept seeing a lot of people who were, a lot of images that were race play. And I'm not going to shame anybody who's into race play. That's your thing. I don't yuck anyone's yum. The issue for me is that I'm not into rage play, and why aren't there any normalized black and kinky images out there? And since I couldn't find them, I made them. And the book is fun.
We're not censored on the People's Podcast, y'all. On the Daily Smoke, we say what we want. And for those of you who are afraid to go find what you need, you can just go online and look at the pictures. They're great.
So yeah, the idea was just really to kind of bring up some aspects, different ways that you can find pleasure, especially as we get older, as things don't work the same, as disabilities become a thing. There always needs to be a more creative way to connect and engage with your partner. And BDSM is a very creative way that can be sexual, but it also cannot be sexual. And I wanted to explore that some. And so this book is really about one character. The next book is expanding into 5 or 6 different characters, all doing different things. A continuation of this story, though. So the idea is just, I've been in kink spaces for over 15 years. The majority of the time I've been in kink spaces have been in white kink spaces. And I learned so much about what kink is and how to do it, and lots of rules and lots of consent, and it's really, really strong in structure. But what it lacked was inclusivity, because when they're telling you how to spank somebody, they're like, spank until the bottom gets red. Well, our bottoms don't get red. Put the clip on the nipples until they turn bright red. Well, our nipples don't turn bright red. They're already dark brown. So there needs to be better language that includes people of different skin colors and also includes people of different abilities, because I also have friends who are differently abled, and in a lot of white spaces they could not engage. And so we started making our own spaces, and now there are several black only spaces that are very robust. But they have a flavor of black folk.
Yeah, like some soul food.
Like some soul food.
Yeah.
Like, you can have the same ingredients at one household and another household, and they're completely different if the household doesn't use salt, and if the household uses slap your mama. So it's very different. And so I won't say that one is better than the other, but I do say that feeling included and normalized in a space that is designed, that is already on the outskirts of what most people think is normal, having that space to be able to engage and learn is really important. So I'm very grateful for my communities. I have so many intersectionalities that bump up against each other but don't necessarily overlap for everybody. So like I said, I'm a pansexual. I am an artist, a mom. I'm also a nudist. I'm also a kinkster. I used to be a swinger. All of those things are very important in my life, but they don't have to overlap. And I think when people meet me in one space,
they keep you there.
They keep me there, and they're like, no, you can't be that too. I'm all of those things.
Hello, somebody.
And more.
Okay, so let me ask you, if you were going to define in your own words soul sex in comparison to what some closed minds and inexperienced bodies have been subjected to when it comes to sex, what is soul sex to you?
I think the best way I would describe it as an energetic exchange between hearts and souls and spirits. I wanted to take tantric one time. I couldn't afford it because tantra classes are pretty
Very
expensive.
expensive for some.
But I had a friend who was taking tantra classes and needed somebody to practice on. Oh my God, yes, yes, I will do it. Whatever you need, I will do it. These were completely nude sessions. At first I was like, this is weird. But then I started feeling stuff. I felt such intense connection with this. I consider him my tantra partner, but I felt such an intense connection with him. I slipped one day and I was like, "Whoa! Whenever we have sex, it's gonna be amazing." He was like, "We never having sex,"
You
and
thought
exactly right.
in the
Oh my
moment.
God, I felt stomped on. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And it really it shook up my brain about how I contextualize relationships.
Come on.
Oh my God, it was so intense because after that conversation, our relationship shifted.
Right.
And then we talked about how it shifted. We didn't ignore it. We didn't give each other the silent treatment. We talked about what just happened.
Right.
There was a mismatch in the expectation. And even though he understood me and I understood him, we were still both hurt. But when we grew through that hurt, there was a explosion in our sessions. The first session after we got, took care of all that mess, that I didn't know was a blockage for either of us. Right? Yeah. So now we took care of this, and I had an hour-long orgasm without being touched. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know it was an hour long. He told me it was an hour long, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so then after the session, my best friend in California, happens to be a male, calls me. He's like, did you just fucking get tantra? I was like, yeah. He's like, you shot me. Like, I felt that energy all the way over here. And I laughed about it, but then it's also kind of fun.
Yeah.
The fact that
the
we
intensity
are
of that connection.
Yes. I think when you give yourself to alternative ways to have sex, I think that there's so many ways that you can be pleasured, and it does not have to do with your genitals.
I know.
Like,
there's layers to the experience.
Exactly.
Right? And so, a lot of times I feel like in listening to other podcasts and other people's conversations, the bashful banter is just completely remiss to the experience of freedom. And so having that opportunity to not experiment but to explore, to feel safe to do so, that's really important. I know that a lot of parents are not comfortable talking about sex with their kids, but in all honesty, a lot of parents have never experienced the euphoria of sex or the impact of intimacy on a level that is not by touch, but more so just a thought, a very titillizing thought, where you can just have ideologies of what breathing someone's essence in is like, as opposed to fucking them and just getting your frustration out and leaving them to lie in your sweat and tears. Right? They're a responsibility that needs to be upheld. I don't know about you, but not everyone in this room was introduced to sex in a safe or a healthy or productive way. And too often the goal is to release as opposed to being open to receive.
Exactly.
In your experience in the last 15 years of not being kinky, not being nasty, not being a deviant, not being the labels of ignorant claim, what has freedom for you felt like as a Black woman who has sexual freedom?
It's been amazing. I want to first touch on the fact that you brought in children.
You're watching the People's Podcast, The Daily Smoke presents The Word Matician with Tiffany Scales. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Much love for your support. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Make sure y'all check out Bangin' 832 Radio, at www.bangin832.com. You can catch episodes of the Daily Smoke Sundays at 7 p.m. And y'all already know 7 p.m. is our time. 7 p.m. all around the world is Daily Smoke time. You can smoke if you want to, but you don't have to, but you got to watch us. So don't forget to watch us. And then there's Tamia's Touch of Care, veteran-owned business. To get a life, get a massage. That's www.tamiaanderson.com. Make sure y'all check this sister out. She's really good at what she does. It's massage therapy. She'll put you in the right state of mind and body. Touch my body. At Tamia Anderson's Touch of Care. Next we have Homegrown Brothers from Houston, Texas. It's the South Park Coalition 35th anniversary concert. Mark your calendars right now, September 10th, 2022. Doors open at 8 p.m. and close at 2 a.m. Go get your groove on. Tickets on sale at Eventbrite. Pre-ticket sales are $25. VIP is $50 and $30 if you wait until you get to the door. Don't think you're going to get VIP for $30 though. You got to get that shit right now. So don't forget to do that. Next we have the Shrine of the Black Madonna Cultural and Event Center sponsors the original Buy Black Marketplace, Black Vendor Market, Book, and Art Fair. They do this every first and third Saturday of the month from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. first and third Saturday. Plus, they do a lot of other things. You can go and volunteer. You can help out with homeless and the hungry. The Daily Smoke goes on Saturdays to help out with the hunger and feeding our people here in Houston, because hey, we're homegrown ourselves right here, Houston, Texas, 832. Like they say, 832 banging. And then the guest that you're watching right now, Miss Vonetta V. She owns ABC Body Art, and that's at www.abcbodyart. Your go-to source for professional body painting and services here in Houston, Texas. To book an appointment, call 713-213-8376. And as always, don't forget us, the Daily Smoke, www.dailysmoke.com, where you will find each and everything you need, anything you need to know about us and how to get on a show, because we want you to come. Because remember, it's the People's Podcast. We need you to be here to make this work. Without you, it doesn't work. So please check us out. Come get the experience here at the Wolf Den. And if you ask any one of our prior guests, matter of fact, you don't have to ask. Watch the episodes. You see how comfortable they are. They talk about whatever. And like we say, you can do just that here at the People's Podcast. Your opinion is your opinion. No one judges. It's all about you. So make sure y'all check out www.dailysmoke.com, dailysmoke.com, and for donations so that we can continue bringing you this great content. Cash App, $TD Smoke. Anything you can donate is appreciated. We don't mind. Again, liking, viewing, sharing, that's plenty for us to thank you. And we appreciate each and every one of you. And as we always say, much love for your support. So here we go. Let's continue on with this great conversation with our special guest, Vonetta.
So, Vonetta, I know this has been a really incredible conversation, but I would like to expound on, of course, your audacity, because the social norms are not your sense of normalcy. So with your sexual freedom and with your goals and desires to eradicate the stigma on sex and sexual freedom, what can individuals who have not been introduced to sex in a way that is healthy, what's a good starting platform for them? What's a starting measure for them to explore in a safe way? What should they look for?
I got started just thinking about sex as a normal thing from my mother. She was just very open. She wasn't officially a nudist, but she never wore clothes, so that was the thing. She normalized the fact that, like, once the divorce was final, I remember her normalizing that you need to stay in your room because mom's having personal time. You know, like, this understanding that mom needs some space. And so my first exploration, like you said, I also was not introduced to physical sex in a safe space. In fact, it didn't feel safe for several years. Um, and those were not those. I remember my mom was like, whenever you have sex for the first time, I need you to tell me so that we can go to the doctor and make sure everything is good, and like have the doctor talk to you about what's next. And
After the fact.
yes, after the
Oh.
first time.
Okay.
She had already told me about
Okay.
condoms.
Okay. You had a
Yeah,
okay.
we already had the condom talk. So after I had sex the first time, came to my mom and I cried. I was like, this is awful. Why do people do this? How do people end up pregnant? This is like the worst feeling ever. And I had already found books in the attic after my dad left. We assumed, me and my brother assumed, that all of them were my dad's because there were magazines and then there were novels. And I remember being in 7th grade, passing those books around to my friends, and like, what is fellatio? You know, like, trying to, I mean, because you're reading these words, and we're like the gifted kids, so like, we're going through them books like gangbusters. And so, I remember thinking, I'd rather have sex with myself than this. Like, reading and pleasuring myself was just more pleasurable than sex with a partner. And it wasn't until several years later that I went to college and began to explore my own sexual proclivities and realized, like, I remember my first experience, that like my very first like any type of sexual touch experience, was when I was 9, and my mother caught me eating my neighbor out, and she was very calm about it, and she was like, maybe this is not the safest thing because, like, you know, urine and feces and like, but she never told me it was explicitly wrong. She just said it wasn't that safe. And so I didn't get like, but that's a girl or any of that stuff. So that kind of felt normal to me. So as I got older, I started to realize that like I like women and I like men, and then had some explorations in the form of threesomes. So that's usually the way that most people get into it. So my first threesome was with 2 guys. It was my partner and his friend, and
was it a threesome, like they did stuff, or like a smorgasbord for you to do stuff?
It was more of a smorgasbord because one of the friends got very uncomfortable because they could feel some
Stuff.
moving. He could feel the dick. That's basically what it was. I don't know why I'm trying to.
No censorship on the People's Podcast. This is the Daily Smoke, y'all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really big issue. I wrote a story about it. It's gonna be funny. But this idea that, okay, that was a thing. That was okay. I still not satisfied. Then my next one was with a woman and a guy, and he passed out. He missed the
The
whole thing.
Vonetta experience. Body art.
I just remember, like, should we wake him up? She was like, nah. And she gave me a very, very pleasurable experience. And I was just like, okay, like, my turn. And she was like, nah, this is a gift for you. And I was like, that could happen?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, you can receive and go to sleep.
I did not even, I had never had that before with male sex. And I was just like, this is wonderful. And so then after that, it was more, it just felt normal for me to have crushes on women, date men. I remember when I was in Chicago, because I went to school there. I walked up to a guy at a party, and I was like, I'm new. I just moved here last week. I don't know anybody, but you're sexy. Can we have a no strings attached sexual relationship?
The pursuit of consent. What happened?
He was like, heck yeah. And for 3 years, he was like an amazing partner, and there were no strings attached.
Now, side note, I want y'all to understand the power of that, because this was not a, well, I'm just going to go with the flow and see what's happening. No, you had a goal. You had an intention. You set it, and he could consent to that. Did you experience more with that experience than you did with figuring it out?
Yes, there's a freedom when I moved to Chicago, because I could be anyone I wanted. And so in my new persona, which was not really new, it was just deep down, but in my new persona, I was just like, okay, I'm going to ask for what I want and get what I want.
Yes, manifest
And
that.
so with him, that was the situation. I met this beautiful woman at a concert, and hit on her. It worked out. We went out, and it was amazing. Like for 72 hours. And I was like, I didn't know that could happen. Like, amazing. And so all of these experiences, the sex part was great, but it was also, when I lived in Chicago, I lived in a building with all women. It was a boarding house. So it wasn't on campus. This was a separate space that was for artists who were women who moved to town. And so there was also this newfound, I had never had relationships with women that weren't either pursuit of sex or contentious. Like,
Yes.
It was weird and it was amazing. And those people are still my friends today.
Because that's possible.
It is.
You can have sex and still be cool. You can have sexual maturity. It's nice.
I think that that's kind of where I began that journey consciously, because 3 of my friends in the space were doms,
Okay.
and they were
Term that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doms would be professional dominatrix. They were paid not to have sex with people, but they were paid to do near sex acts. So people who enjoy being spanked, people enjoy being punished, who enjoy collaring and all these kind of different things. And so my best friend, she needed to know how to pee on command.
Somebody. Yeah.
And
okay.
so I gave her lessons. We talked about it. We went through like, okay, now go pee. And she's like, I can't. And so like we went through this whole thing, and she became the best pisser. Everyone was like hiring her. She paid off her student loans. I'm like,
Heard
man.
that. I know y'all have heard those fun facts on like different streaming sites about what you can do to earn some money. What's like ballpark of what somebody would pay to be peed on? I'm just curious.
So sessions usually run anywhere from 100 an hour to 700 an hour, according to like what you're asking and what you're expecting. So my one friend had, I was a RA at at the place where we lived, and she comes to me and she's like, "Hey, do you think anybody would want a massage during our free time?" And I was like, "Sure, let's see." So she brings this guy on his knees on a leash and walks him in there, and she's like, "Sit," and he sits like right beside her, and he says, "Yes, mistress." And she goes, "This piece of shit will give you guys a foot massage or a hand massage or a back massage, whatever you want, he'll do it." And everybody like freaked out. They were like, I don't know, that's kind of weird. And this was like my first time seeing it in live.
Right.
And I was like just amazed. Now, I was already the RA who had porn night multiple times.
You were very progressive.
I was
Yes.
already like helping the girls. I think that it was just so funny. I worked at Blockbuster, so I was already having movie nights. So we would like stick a porn night in there every once in a while. It was really fun. So I just was like, I have to learn more about this. She was a smoker. She would say, ashtray open, and she would flick her ash in his mouth, and he would say, thank you, mistress. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so that was my introduction into it. Now, I didn't participate for another 7 years,
Okay.
but that was my introduction. That was my like, "Boo, I need to see about this." And then I'm just like watching people. And then I got hired to body paint at an event that was a kink event. And I was painting my model. And we were already like super giddy, like, I don't know what to expect. This is gonna be exciting. I wonder if they'll be having sex, we're like really excited. And then I'm doing a brushstroke and I hear, and I froze. I was like, oh my God. And it just kept getting louder and louder. And I turn around and this guy is getting wailed on. So it's a black dom and it's a white submissive. A submissive is someone who opts to give over command of their time, space, energy, and body. Consent based, but to a dominant. So you can give consent for a minute, an hour, a day, a week, your life. So I just want to be clear about that because I think people get really confused about it.
Yes.
And they don't understand that consent can also be withdrawn. If you choose to submit to somebody, you can also withdraw your consent and withdraw your submission.
Because it's your power.
It's your power. So anyway, he was getting wailed on and his ass was cherry red and he was just in bliss, and I was like, this is amazing. And so for the next 3 years I just went to her party. She would invite me and I would go and I would watch. And then one time a guy was at her party and he was like, I always see you either painting or watching. Are you going to any other parties? I was like, no, I don't know how. He was like, I would like you to come to my party. I'm not like, I know I look like a dirty old white man. I am a dirty old white man, but I'm not trying to have sex with you. I need you to understand that. I said, thank you for that. And he invited me to his place, and he specifically invited me to this party that was a light party. So there wasn't any blood play. And the play wasn't very heavy.
Blood play.
Blood play is when you, any type of blood is drawn. So, it could be cutting. It could be, some people like needles. It's a lot of different things. So he didn't want to scare me with that. But this 78-year-old man who was married to a 40-something woman played his partner. He tied her up. Her hands are over her head. She's like your height, in heels.
6'1".
And so she's tied up. And then I didn't realize that her other partner was in front of her. So they turned on 9-inch nails and they played her to the beat. One on the up and one on the down. I was like, oh my God. I can't.
Played her. What's that?
Oh, so playing is when you either, for this it was impact play, so they had reeds, like wooden rods, and so they were literally beating on her butt, beating on her tits. They had like a fly swatter, electric fly swatter. They were hitting it on her tits, on her nipples.
So they turned her body into a musical instrument.
Exactly. And she kept saying shit, fuck, damn. And he kept saying that is not the safe word. You must really like this. And she just smiled and kept saying shit, fuck, damn. But the way they were hitting her, she couldn't help but to move. And it was on the beat. And I just thought that that was so amazing. I puddled in that moment, and I was like, huh.
Puddled.
I had an orgasm just in my pants. I had to apologize to him. I was like, I have made a mess. I am so sorry. And he was like, it's fine. I mean, you know,
That was the goal.
that's what we're trying to do. And then there was another triad where it was two guys and a girl. They had her hogtied and blindfolded, and they told her that every person in the room was going to fuck her. One person fucked her, but she's blindfolded, and all she feels is hands, and she can hear people. And she's scared, but also excited. And then he gave us toys, and he's like, you know, and so like we're all like, ah! And, you know, just, I mean, she consented to it, so I'm gonna have fun. And so like that was a thing. And so I was like, I had so much fun. And I was telling my host, like, this was amazing. Thank you so much for this. And he was like, it ain't over. Come in the other room. So go into the room, and there's a massage table. I was like, oh, y'all do massages too? He was like, in a way. And he put this person on the table, lit a torch, and set them on fire.
What?
And oh my God, I had 7 more orgasms. That shit was hot.
Literally.
It was amazing. Yes, literally. It was so amazing. I was like, I don't play in public.
Right.
I feel like it's a very intimate thing. It's ironic. I don't do kink stuff in public spaces. I will do swing stuff in public spaces. I will have sex. I will give blowjobs. That's fine. But you're not going to spank
Handle
me, and
yeah.
you're not going to do all that. I don't want to do that in public. And I laid there. I got naked. I laid there, and he set flash cotton. You know what flash cotton is?
I don't. Tell us.
It's it's the cotton and paper that they use, that magicians use when they set it on fire. It burns really fast, and it looks like poof, something just like poofed out of the way, but it's like a flash. So he made a trail with flash cotton from my thigh up my belly, around both of my nipples, onto, like, one nipple had a cup,
Okay.
like a metal cup, and then more flash cotton was in it. And he was like, are you ready? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, you're ready. Woof. And it went woo. And I had another orgasm. I was like, oh my, this is amazing. But I felt safe with him.
That part. That was important for you.
It was so important to me because I've had fire play with other partners, and it's never been the same because I've never felt that safe. I always felt like they were learning on me, and that's not a thing I want you learning on
I
me.
want to ask you a question. The interjection is only excitement for perspective's sake, because, you know, on the Daily Smoke, you have an opportunity to be exposed to all types of topics: sex, politics, religion, and everything in between. The nuance of our existence is freedom. And so I'm just wondering if you have any feedback of experience or even a concern about individuals who want more out of life. So I know intimacy, right, is a sex educator. You have a lot of opportunities on social media to expand and explore in a safe way, to completely eradicate fear and educate yourself on safety, consent, and freedom. However, I know individuals who are active in sex work, who have been active in sex work, and I mean, like, they provide a really quality service. I know them personally. I don't know them biblically, but I know them in a very safe way of expressing, you know, their experience. And so there are individuals who are happily married, but unfulfilled in the bedroom. And there are individuals who are divorced and have never had an orgasm. What can they do to find their way to a good space to learn comfortably their bodies and how to explore others?
I always say start with yourself. Find out what you like, find out what you don't like. I had a friend who was married, and her husband was starting to complain about some things, and she and I'm a Scorpio, so I
That
like
means a
sex
lot.
already. I already like a lot of sex. She likes a lot of sex, but it's a thing that she didn't want to do. And
What was the thing?
the thing was oral. She didn't want to give
Put
him
his
a
penis
blowjob.
in her mouth.
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
And I told her, I was like, I read this book. It's called Tickle His Pickle. And
Oh, that's the banana girl you taught how to
yes.
get head. Okay.
And
come
so
on.
we're in a club, and me and my homegirl, we asked the bartender for bananas, and we showed her how to, you know, put it in your mouth so that it's not in the front of your mouth, but in the back of your mouth. And so like it gives the best stuff. And so she went home and did her thing. And he called the next day and offered us anything we wanted.
And he bought her what?
He bought her furniture,
A whole house
furniture
filled.
set, because she had been asking for it, and then he was just so happy. But I say this to say, have safe people that you can talk
Yeah.
about sex with. You don't have to have sex with those people
No.
to be able to talk safely about, is this normal? Have you done this? How do I do this? That group of friends, we talk about lots of acrobatic things that we like to do. They drew the line when I started getting into kink because that wasn't their thing.
That's okay.
I understand, and I am not forcing anybody to be in a kink lifestyle. It is something that I enjoy because I am multi-orgasmic, as you've already seen. I can come from different things that don't
All
even
your
have
sensory
to. Yes.
stimulation, yes.
And so because of that, I need other things.
Supplements.
I need it to hit me here.
Yeah.
And so what kink does is it allows that. So say you have a partner and your partner likes cigars. I see cigars there, so I'm using that as an example.
Wolf den.
I had a partner who liked cigars. And so I seasoned his cigars for him and put them back in the humidor.
Did you season them with the juices from your vagina?
I did. It was so, the act of me seasoning was so erotic that it actually made me come even more. And so, you know, self-lubricating and whatnot. But here's the thing. If you're going to try this, please make sure that you don't go overboard, because
The tobacco can come out.
the tobacco will leach into your system, and you will have that same feeling. And if you're not a smoker, it will be a weird thing. It was I didn't get a lot of it, but it was just like, oh, that's
Different.
not what I was expecting. But yes, I would take, 4 or 5 of the cigars and one by one season them. Only the part where the mouth would go, because you don't want to season the whole thing. But you want, basically, my partner said that every time he took a toke, he could taste me. And that was erotic. And it also made him clamor to get back. And so I learned from this girl when I was working for WIC. I learned from this girl that she would do little things every day to drive her husband crazy. Like, she would ride his face and tell him he couldn't wash his mustache. So I'm sure his coworkers did not like that, but he was home every night. They had like 6 or 7 kids, like they was getting it in, and it was just like things like that to keep things exciting. Now, if all those things don't work, talk to your partner. If you and your partner are having an unfulfilled sex life, I think it's very important to talk to your partner about what can happen.
I would even go as far as to say, if you do not feel comfortable talking to your partner with whom you share a bed or your timer body, then there are places you can go to talk to someone so you can get there.
Exactly. There are sex surrogates that will help you understand what the mismatch is and help you and your partner get back there. It's a very important thing, but in addition to having lots of different options, I also am polyamorous, and so a lot of people are like, oh my god, that means you're having sex all the time. Actually, really not having a lot of sex at all, but it does mean that I get my love support from multiple sources, and sometimes that's better than sex, because I have one partner that is a cuddle bunny. Like, that is what we do. We don't do anything else. And I'm okay with that. At first I wasn't, because I was sex primal and I was like, oh my gosh, if we're not going to do anything, I need to know.
Else, right?
And I guess he was very used to people like either trying to force him or like, and just not feeling comfortable. So on a time when we were not engaged, I sat him down and I was like, hey, so what's going on here? Can you explain? I'm bisexual. What do you like? How do you identify? And that's when I learned about asexuality and understanding that, okay, now that I know that, I understand that that's not on the table. The same way with my tantra partner, I'm good.
Because
I have that
it's the
expectation.
knowing, yes.
And I can consent to being in this type of scenario. I'm not tricked and thwarted into like, am I not?
Right.
I think that's what a lot of people with penises happen to hate about some women who don't want to have sex but don't want to say they don't want to have sex.
And even contrarily, some women assume gratitude is bestowed with their bodies.
Exactly.
Or their tongues. And so there are so many spaces of changing that narrative, because intimacy has nothing to do with being naked. But being naked has a lot to do with intimacy. That's going to go over a few minutes, but right? So we can keep it educational as well. Individuals who are living with STDs or STIs that have maybe not talked to a counselor or not talked to a source of support, and learn different ways to satisfy their body or their partner. There are different ways by experiencing a kink lifestyle or having experiences where you can watch or masturbate while you're in the room. Like, there are different measures of exposure. But what feedback would you have for an individual, say, who has a partner who has an STD or an STI that is not able to be treated, but maybe during breakouts? Like, for instance, if someone has herpes or a non-7-day bug, excuse my language, is not to be offensive, just, a non-7-day bug, something that, medication cannot eradicate from their body, but there are still ways to be intimate. What do you know about that?
So there are many, many things that you can do. One, you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. But the other thing is, it's really important to, one, know your body, two, know what your partner likes. So like, if it's during a time where, genital sex is just not going to happen. We used to throw cuddle parties.
Okay.
Having just cuddling as an intimacy. I had a party where we read naughty stories, like erotic stories that were
Nothing like this.
It was that actually.
You did. Oh, you did a recent cuddle part.
Yes. We read that. And then the people who enjoyed the book, some of them went and got a little bit more physical, and some, expressed that they got so much pleasure out of just reading the stories,
yeah.
and so like recontextualizing what is an intimate moment with your partner is super important, because it doesn't have to always be sex. Grinding is really fun. I think that people just do not give it enough. Like, once you're
Terminology, because it sounds like
Okay.
it could be tripping, could be scissors. What is grinding in your terminology?
in my terminology, I would consider it anything that's over close.
Okay.
And genitals are almost touching, but they're close in the way.
So some old folks would call that dry humping
Dry
or
humping
goosing.
or goosing, and it could also be tripping if you're wearing clothes and you're with a vagina partner. I think that it's important to make out. Make out. Do you know, like, after this weird thing that happens after we get out of high school, that we think we're too good to be making out because we have our own apartment? No, make out. I had a partner that all he wanted to do was make out. I love making
Like,
out.
oh look, there's a brick wall inside this building. Before we go inside, do something.
Let's do
something.
it.
Do something spontaneous. Do something sensual. Enough force. And if you don't know, I'm sorry, excuse me. If you don't know the boundaries of your partner, you might want to slow down how much you're engaging with that partner, because that means you have not consensualized this experience, and now you're just seeing how it goes, missing the opportunity to explode. So that's something I feel that everybody needs to, get here. Because if you're experiencing grief, or any experience that causes you to experience anger, disbelief, bargaining, all the denial stages, and you take away the sensuality of an experience. If you're in a relationship, that means you have muted love for those whose language is that touch. But there are ways to acknowledge that sex is healthy. Sex is a prescription. Sex is not to be overdosed for those who are overexposed, but there are nymphos that can handle that. But in a safe way where you're able to explore sexuality, sex, and sexual freedom, you have an opportunity to truly encompass all of the elements of intimacy, of consent, of communication. And I think that's really important, because again, sex ed is not being taught. And if parents are afraid that their children are not ready for sex, that needs to be something to be mindful of, because they are being prepared, like, in these moments. And so if their bodies are changing and they're experiencing puberty, this is the preparation of those moments. And it's unfair to a high degree not to equip them with information, because they'll go get it. It's on social media, it's in books, it's in their faces, it's everywhere. And I thank you for this. I know Ron from the Daily Smoke gave a really good response for the fact of it not just being about sex, but more so the socialization factor, and what can happen to a person in their sexual freedom when their body has been taken from them. And there are some things that I'm working on. I love for y'all to look forward to it, because this is a manifestation. But I have this thing called pros and cons. And I want to talk to individuals who have experienced imprisonment, and I want them to write about that experience, because I know what writing workshops and what art has done to help individuals heal from sexual trauma. And there are people, men and women, and those who don't identify as either, who have been mishandled and misguided sexually in the prison system, in the judicial system, in spaces where children are being raised in small quarters or with people that are not their family. And so, as opposed to carrying on the narrative of assumption, which is a bit asinine to me, I want people who have experienced it to tell their truth in an artistic way, because it cannot be judged or silenced. And while we have freedom of speech, and we're on the People Podcast on the Daily Smoke, I welcome you, if that's your story, to write it down and to share it, because your truth needs to be told. Vonetta, I'm so enamored. You know you're my friend. I love you so much. I've literally watched you do what you say, and I'm so grateful that you trust me. You have no idea how valuable that is. Like, you trust me. You trust me to come where I invite you. You trust me to have conversations that you feel safe with. But to know that you are still a human being in this experience, that you still have exposure to things that can feed insecurity and doubt. I want to thank you, because you admitted to me that you second guessed the completion of this book, of this project, because you wanted the words to be perfect and you doubted your own. I'm so excited for you. The way you describe this story, y'all, I'm telling y'all, like Vonetta Berry, ABC Body Art, like Goddess Inkwell. I am grateful for what you're doing for us and for them, because the normalcy needs to be expanded. And what you have done, getting past your own obstacle of insecurity and doubt, and saying, I've been looking for this, I could not find it, so I used my hands to create a space for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
This has been The Daily Smoke. I am the Wordmatician, and this is the People's Podcast. We talk about taboo topics and invite real people to have real conversations. Y'all stay tuned for tomorrow, 7 p.m., and make sure you subscribe and share the video.